Paolo Odogwu. As a black player I wasn't comfortable at my old clubs, now I can be myself at Wasps. Paolo Odogwu will be back on a team sheet for the first time in 7.5 months on Saturday, and the sport can be glad for his re-emergence. For the 24-year-old Wasps back does not just break open defenses, but perceptions of what a rugby player should look like, be like, and do with his platform. I'm happy to be part of that, leading a charge of being yourself. He begins, proudly showing his personality via his appearance. For close to an hour he talks to, virtually, from his flat in the jewellery quarter of Birmingham, his two dangling earrings sparkling away as purple-tipped dreadlocks protrude from his head. The t-shirt he wears is one he designed himself, as the artist for a fashion label, Composure Club, that he started in May with his teammate, Jacob Umaga. Later, at Wasps' Henley and Arden training ground, he playfully poses for photographs. As part of a new generation of rugby characters, Odogwu is confident, colorful and unashamedly prepared to challenge age-old stereotypes by talking about self-expression, rugby and racism. But he was not always this vocal. I came from Leicester Tigers Academy, which at the time was so regimented and strict, he said. You almost couldn't have a personality, besides your rugby, you had to be the same person, stick to the same core values, wear black boots, not be too flashy, all that. There's a borderline between being humble and being restricted, your personality crush. When you're 16, you're finding out who you are. I saw a lot of guys lose confidence completely, just from not having any personal support. If you weren't playing well in rugby, they didn't really care. I've always been quite a colorful character. If I was there now, with purple dreadlock, I wouldn't have been there, it wouldn't have been allowed. Even in 5 years everything is moving forward, especially with this younger generation. It's nice that people are excited to express themselves more. Odogwu, who never found his feet at Tigers or Sale Sharks before moving to Wasps in 2019, recognizes now that he felt awkward at his old club. I was one of, if not the only, black player, he says. I realize now I was not comfortable. At Wasps, we've got 10 or more black players, so many different cultures, that you feel you can be yourself without any judgment. I can change my hair color every week and am not going to have people going, why are you doing all this? You might have comments, but it's not aggressive judgment, a dated mindset of, you can't have an earring or you can't dye your hair. Here it's, you be you. I'm not doing anything disruptive, so it's fine. As shown by the all-too-predictable racist abuse of sports stars on social media, such as in the summer, when the England footballers Jadon Sancho, Marcus Rashford and Bukayo Saka missed penalties in the European Championship final shootout defeat by Italy, society is still stuck in old rut. Odogwu has not been outwardly racially abused in his life, but says racism is part of his lived experience. He has seen microaggressions in rugby, a sport he feels can modernize enormously. If you'd spoken to me 5 years ago it wasn't something I was passionate about, you're just a young player coming through, but then it gets to the point where you think, this is my everyday, he says. I've been that young, black rugby player who has been stereotyped. I don't want it to continue. It was common for people to say, they've got a black player, he'll just be fast and won't be able to catch or kick. How do you know? And while commendable work continues to help alter attitudes in his sport, Odogwu believes that rugby is too often concerned more with ticking boxes than real change. Rugby does it a lot, he said. It's very reactionary. We have to do this, so let's do it. He saw that in evidence when Gallagher Premiership teams took varying anti-racism stances before games in 2020. Some took a knee, while others instead formed hearts or circles on the pitch, or wore t-shirts. Teams did everything but the one thing that's universally recognized, he says, as part of a Wasp side that collectively decided to kneel together. A symbolic act that now has curiously stopped before club games. It was not a political symbol at all, but people will only see what their Twitter says. If you see it's a Marxist movement, they want to defund the police and fans thinking like that, then players will be scared to take a knee because they don't want the backlash. With us it wasn't what are your political beliefs. It was, do you care about the black boys in your team? I'm not forcing anyone to listen to rap music or dye their hair. Just understand why other people do, and don't just go against them because you don't. We did that really well, and I was proud to be part of it. League-wide they had a Rugby Against Racism slogan that's on kit now. I appreciate the sentiment, but it doesn't really mean anything. It's not going to be rugby for racism, is it? It's trying to appease everyone without being too controversial. It felt because they'd printed Rugby Against Racism on the sleeve he didn't have to kneel anymore. That's smaller than the smallest sponsor. It's barely there. A lot of us thought, do we not have 5 seconds before a game to do this? At least they've done something, but there's always more to be done. Thankfully change is afoot. When Odogwu went into the England camp for the Six Nations last year, having bolted spectacularly from the blue, he was heartened by what he saw. I was at the height of my form, being myself, doing press articles about racism, he said. If the England environment was very white still I would feel pretty uncomfortable going into it off the back of all that, especially if it was the older guard leading them, thinking, what are these people going to make of me? With Maro Itoje being one of the best players in the world, Ellis Genge and Kyle Sinclair being in leadership roles, they are not just in the squad but pivotal players. That's a key difference. They could be picked and could not have a say, but these are leaders in the team. Genji was captain for the summer, someone who has had so many questions about his character, everything, because he's not the stereotypical middle-class rugby player. I've spent a lot of time with him. He's a great guy, a great leader, someone who will die for his teammate. That's the qualities you want as a captain. Just because he doesn't speak like everyone else, isn't the prototypical schoolboy rugby player, it doesn't mean he's not a good captain. If I was 15 or 16 and I was seeing Maro or Courtney Lawes captain England, I'd think, if he could do it guys like me can. Wasps have missed Odogwu's expression. One of a number of injured players returning, he will play his first match since May against Toulouse in the Heineken Champions Cup on Saturday. While out, having torn the anterior cruciate ligament in his knee, Odogwu has made strides in the fashion world. The day before his injury, suffered when goose-stepping against Northampton Saints, he and Umaga released Composure Club's first line of clothing. In October and December the pair ran a pop-up shop at the Coventry Building Society Arena for Wasps home matches. Now fans of threads with a streetwear casual vibe can purchase bucket hats, hoodies, t-shirts, caps and beanies, all stamped with Odogwu's signature style. The duo want to hire office space in Leamington Spa, commission art, maybe even start a barbers and coffee shop, and have combined with the kit manufacturers Hummel to design Wasps' European strip for next year. Jacob and I are local, from Kenilworth and Birmingham, so if anyone was going to do a kit for the city, if we win the Champions Cup in it next year, it'll be the first thing on our shop wall, says Odogwu. Odogwu is desperate to make up for lost time and inspire a resurgent Wasps before he thinks about attempting to win an elusive England cap. As we speak, he has not decided how to decorate his crisp, white boots for this comeback, but rest assured, there will be a message on them. You would not expect anything less from Odogwu, a man determined to make his mark. I don't see myself being a massive activist, leading rallies, but it's something, no matter how I do it, I want to make my thoughts known, he said. There is a long way to go, but if we continue to celebrate individuality it helps.